Kevin Durant. A recent piece for the undefeated, Kendrick Perkins speaking to our Mark Spears about his former teammate, saying, quote, "It was just time for him to leave Golden State. They were taking him for granted." Chris, you are all around that organization. Do you think this is true?
No, from a basketball standpoint, it's impossible to take KD for granted, right? So for three years there, his record 38-11 in the playoffs, two championships, 2 NBA Finals MVPs. So he's not taken for granted there. The one thing is, the dynamic is Steph is an impeccable player, impeccable person. He was drafted. Clay was drafted by the Warriors. Draymond drafted by the Warriors. Similar to A-Rod and Jeter, right? Both incredible Hall of Fame players. No matter what A-Rod did, the New York Yankees, Jeter's their guy. So I think that dynamic's always there. But the real dialogue is we're always talking about KD as the best player in the league. Right. So I don't think he's taken for granted from a basketball standpoint. But as far as the love, they're going to, lean towards their guys that they drafted.
Yeah, I mean, you're with them all year.
For sure. There's a lot of layers here, as there always are with Kevin. I'd start with this. There was a lot of focus on the jersey retirement yesterday, the announcement by Joe Lacob. The reason they did that is because there's a huge appreciation for what Kevin accomplished, 2 finals MVPs, 2 titles. That is in its own place. The other part is they want to be able to look up and show recruits in free agency from now until the end of time. This is how we treat our players.
Right.
We will treat you much better than the Thunder did at the end of his tenure there. Right. We will respect the fact that you have the ability to go wherever you want, and we will love you forever for what you did for us. But secondly, and this goes back to exactly what Mullin was saying, I was around all year this past season. Not once did I feel like they didn't respect him, didn't appreciate him. Kevin, to me, is a reminder for everybody that basketball players are human beings just like everybody else. And Kevin was looking for fulfillment and validation from all over the place. And his teammates respect the hell out of him for what he accomplished. And from my perspective as a media person, there is not a more accessible superstar in the league. If you want to talk about the game, he loved it. I loved being around him, just having casual conversations, but he was always looking for something more. And the saddest part to me on a human level is I'm not sure where he's going to find it. And you talk to people in the organization, and that was always their fear. They knew for a long time that he was probably going to leave. And everybody would kind of look around and go, is he really going to be happier somewhere else? And so I hope he finds whatever it is that he's seeking over time, but there's a lot of doubt internally that will be the case.
Nick, you bring up a great point, because I think about it organizationally, what could they have done more? They didn't. They did everything they could have within their power to make him feel happy. I know I've been in a situation in Phoenix where we had a player who was unhappy about how he was perceived around the league, and so we pumped the media people and said, hey, you got to write a nice story. But at the end of the day, they're going to perceive you how they perceive you now. It's a different era now. We're not talking about how media people are writing about you. He's talking about being upset that John 654 on Twitter doesn't like him, or that, Harry too real to be true or whatever on Instagram doesn't like him. We don't have control over it as an organization. Like Nick said, if everybody you work with respects you and treats you with that respect and gives you those accolades and showers you with all the praise, but your ear is, well, what about those guys over there? You may never be happy because there's no organization that controls that narrative out there.
Well, it's interesting. We're looking right now. This is where, of course, Draymond and KD got into it right across the street here at the Staples Center at first week of the season. Mully, part of the base of that argument was Draymond seeming to sort of be like, what more do you want from us, right? Like, we changed the way the team plays for you. We cleared everything out for you. We won titles together. Dude, like, why are you still testing us? What more do you want? How does that play out within a team and players when, as these guys say, those guys all really respected KD, but if he was still looking for more, and I was not in the locker room with him, so I don't know. If that's part of the factor there, how does it affect the other teammates as the season goes on?
Yeah, I think a big factor here, and I heard you, Nick, talk about towards the end of the playoffs, was the emotional grind that you go through. And Steve referencing, so, the group, Steph, Clay, and Draymond and Iguodala went 5 years to the finals, right? And KD 3. So that emotional roller coaster and all the different things you go through, it wears on you. Even if you love each other, it's just a lot of time spent. You add in the injury, right? So there's a lot of emotional things that go through. And sometimes you get to a point where you just think you need a change. We could all probably sit here and from a basketball standpoint, it's not a better fit, but there are other factors. Like you said, sometimes the personal feelings and emotions come into play more than the actual stuff we're looking on the basketball floor.
Well, now they're all moving on, and the Warriors have D'Angelo Russell coming in as part of that sign and trade. I mean, we've been talking the past couple of days about the basketball fit between these guys. How much do Steph and D'Angelo really fit together as a backcourt, especially defensively? Pick and roll, obviously, not the Warriors' bread and butter, but it's been D'Angelo's bread and butter. So who changes, D'Angelo or the Warriors?
I think he adjusts for them because, first of all, it's not their bread and butter, but they do it, and it's really been a card that Steve holds on to the playoffs, and then they unleash it. It's not like they don't like pick and roll. It's just they like to do different things so that they can keep those aces in their pockets. But the other thing is, D'Angelo, we talked about it the other day, he was an off-ball player before he got to college. He wasn't a point guard in high school. He got to Ohio State, played point guard that 1 year, gets drafted by the Lakers, and then on the Lakers played on and off ball, and then with Brooklyn played on and off ball. Spencer Dinwiddie handled a lot. Karis LeVert handled a lot. So the idea that him playing off ball, moving without the ball is kind of a foreign concept. I don't buy it. I think he fits in perfectly offensively. You said it. The big issue is defensively. They lost their 3 best perimeter defenders. Durant is gone, Iguodala's gone, and Clay's gone at least half the year. And they replaced him with a guy who, let's be honest, he's not a defensive guy. That's a big issue that they're going to have to address over the coming months.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah, I think offensively he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He can play the point, get Steph off the ball quite a bit. He can really run the pick and roll. He's got a nice step back. He's going to score points. So they got the next best player available for nothing. Somehow Bob Myers did a great job getting the next best talent. Defensively, he has the size, right, to play the 2 guard who are the best, to get Steph off the other best offensive player. But that's not his calling card. So defensively is going to be where he's going to have to step it up.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.